everybody, and welcome to Cine-Picks, and I am Kevin. This is Michaela, and today Michaela picked a movie for me to watch. So, Michaela, what was your Cine-Pick?
So my Cine-Pick for you, Kevin,
Yeah.
is the 2016 horror fantasy film The Neon Demon, starring
Mm-hmm.
Elle Fanning, Jenna Malone, and a whole bunch of other people whose names I can't remember.
Mm-hmm.
But that's okay. Oh, Keanu Reeves is also in this movie.
Yeah.
I'm sure you have about that, and so do I.
Random. Okay.
So my question for you, Kevin,
Mm-hmm.
if you could describe The Neon Demon, how would you describe it? What's it
Okay.
about?
This movie, and I believe this is probably one of its downfalls, it's a very simplistic movie. Basically, you've got it. It takes place Los Angeles, the model scene. A new girl comes into town, and turns out she's the most beautiful girl ever, and she just dominates the model scene. And some other models get jealous, and they kill her and eat her. The end.
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
that's
basically
pretty much
it.
it.
Very
That's
simple.
a lot. Yeah,
Yeah.
honestly, that echoes a lot of the criticism that this movie had gotten upon its initial release.
Mhm.
Was that the storyline is fairly simple, but honestly, I think that it's a good thing that it was this simple because compared to the director's other films,
Mhm.
that are super conceptual, like Drive
Yeah.
was one of those with Ryan Gosling. It was kind of like weirdly refreshing to see something streamlined
Yeah.
like this. I don't know. Okay, initial thoughts, go.
Mhm. Okay. I hate this movie. I
I keep picking movies you hate.
This movie was so boring. The most boring movie I think I have ever seen. I
Really?
could not believe how boring it was. I mean, like, I was just like it like took my breath away. How boring it was. Like, I was watching it and I was literally just like like literally.
What? Your soul slowly being ripped out of your
It
body?
was I couldn't believe it. I, I don't and it's not for lack of trying. It's not for lack of trying either. This movie it's got some of them, like, it's got some very intense scenes. It's got, like, graphic, gory scenes. It's got some very sexual scenes. It's got, I mean, it's got, like, these things that, like, should invoke some sort of interest. He's he somehow managed to make it all boring. Okay, for instance, there is a scene where Elle Fanning, she opens her hotel room door and the lights don't turn on and she sees something moving in the back of her room. Ah, what is it? And she goes to the door. She's so scared. She runs down to the hotel manager, says, "There's something in my room." They go up to the room and they can't open the door. They bust open the door. Lights don't work. They shine a flashlight in there. The whole hotel room is torn apart and there's a mountain lion in her room. Ah! I don't know how they managed to make a mountain lion so boring. Right? This scene should be exciting, intense. It should, like, adrenaline. Like, it should, like, no. It was so boring. Ah, like, I don't know how they
I
did
I
it.
have an explanation for that.
Okay, why would they
There's
make it?
a
Why would they
word.
make it boring?
Here's my question, and this relates to a different film.
Mm-hmm.
I swear it does relate. Have you ever seen the movie called It Follows?
No, I haven't. I know of it, but I haven't actually seen it.
Shoot, I can't.
Okay.
Then I don't want to give anything away. Okay, It Follows is is basically about a creature that takes the form of different of people. It's mostly just people, and it
Mm-hmm.
follows this girl around and basically stalks her.
Yeah.
There's a lot of metaphorical talk about what the it necessarily is, because
Mm-hmm.
sometimes it's invisible,
Yeah.
but it moves at such a slow pace that like you can outrun it, but you can never outrun it for long because it will continue to follow you.
Mm-hmm.
So even when you think that you've gotten rid of it and passed it on to somebody else, you never know what's going to happen. It's that same thing. Final Destination also has that thing
Mm-hmm.
where everybody's constantly trying to outrun death or outrun the thing
Yeah.
by transferring it to a different person, but eventually that person dies, and just when the person thinks they're safe, it gets you.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it's a very similar thing with this movie, and the fact that weird things will happen. I think the mountain lion was supposed to be a signifier
Mm-hmm.
for like the predatory situations that Al Fanning was in, but
Yeah.
it was supposed to be displayed in like an understated way. And I think that's where the movie sometimes comes across as slow
Mm-hmm.
pacing wise, like the scene like everything's moving in like slow motion,
Yeah.
you know, which is where I can see it can get boring. But also with that like mountain lion, I think they put it in there because it's supposed to signify something else that I forgot where I was going with this metaphor. It's supposed to, I don't think it's supposed to be a climactic action scene. I think
Yeah.
it's supposed to be a signifier that Elle Fanning's character is Jesse, that
Mm-hmm.
Jesse is inching closer and closer to becoming corrupt
Mm-hmm.
until it eventually manifests in her apartment when she almost directly runs right into it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so yeah, the maybe the focus wasn't necessarily the mountain lion and like a mountain lion attack,
Mm-hmm.
but more like what the mountain lion represented. Because how does a mountain lion just end up in a hotel room like that?
Right.
You
Yeah.
know? Which is just weird. Yeah, there's a lot of weird kind of
I mean,
unexplained
it
things
is. It is in
happening.
Los Angeles. There's mountain lions in in Los Angeles. That's a problem. You hear about it all the time. Trail runners, running on the trails in Los Angeles, getting attacked by mountain lions. It
Right? But she's
it
not anywhere near
happens.
trails. I don't think she's anywhere near trails though. She's like
Well, I don't
in the
know.
main part of Los Angeles, living in a really kind of crummy dump of an apartment
Animals
with
wander.
a
Who knows? But anyways, yeah.
maybe.
But it's
Yeah.
still. Did it have to be so boring? I don't know.
Yeah,
It's.
I think this director really, what's the word I'm looking for? Put the needle. What's it? What's the phrase I'm looking for? He's on the nose.
I don't know.
It's like the metaphors for things
Mm-hmm.
are really on the nose.
Yeah, that's fine. You can. I'm fine with on the nose metaphors. I don't like to work too hard when I'm watching a movie. So if you can just tell me exactly what it is, that's fine. So I'm fine if it's like really obvious. The thing is, it's just so boring. Anyways, and also the thing I was worried that maybe like I just didn't get the movie, but it's not an unpopular opinion to say this movie is boring. I looked at Amazon. It's got a 2.5 star rating, 2.4 to be exact, and 45% of the ratings are 1 star. It's 45%, and I like looking at these. People like, is it the worst movie I've ever seen? Pure tripe, all fluff and no horror. 2 hours of my life I will never get back. I think this was probably one. Yeah. Also, yeah. What a waste of time. Insultingly bad. I think this is one of my favorites. It says, empty, boring, and awful. I have patience for nearly any movie, especially those that bring something new to the table. I love weird. I don't mind gore. This was hideous with zero redeeming qualities and characters that were not only unlikable but completely undeveloped, boring, and useless. The dialogue was ridiculous, sounded like it was written by an angry and pretentious 13-year-old boy. For a brief moment towards the end, I thought it was finally getting good. Then just more drooling music and long empty stares. I can't believe I sat through the whole thing. I feel like I wrote this, but I didn't. somebody else. That's exactly what I was thinking. The whole thing. I was like, oh my gosh.
So, okay, in my mind, one of the reasons that I picked this movie for you
Mhm.
is because you showed me Houseu.
Yeah.
And Houseu is one of those movies where there's a lot of things that aren't quite explained, like it's an experience.
Yeah.
Houseu is an experience, and you can't really explain because just like the last one, when I tried to summarize Houseu, super simple,
Yeah.
easy to
Right.
do on a surface level.
Mhm.
Um, but then you try to explain other elements of the film, and it's really, really difficult because it's just something you have to experience. And I
Yeah.
feel the same way about this film. It's really, really divisive.
Mhm.
I have to be careful about the people I recommend the Neon Demon to because you're either going to love it
Yeah.
or you're going to hate it. And I think
Yeah.
that's why people consider it a cult film now
Mhm.
because it's like it depends on what you are watching it for.
Mhm.
Like, are you watching it for the plot and the character development? Because you're probably not going to get a lot of that.
Yeah.
But if you're watching for just like a beautiful film experience, I feel like that's what attracts people to the film. Like, that's honestly what attracted me to the film,
Mhm.
was watching the colors and seeing this really interesting art housey experiment with color
Yeah.
and with really beautiful cinematography.
Mhm.
And I feel because it like captures an entire aesthetic and it captures an entire mood.
Yeah.
I feel like I got lost. Like when I watched this film, I feel like I got lost in the world of it.
Mhm.
At the same time, I can see exactly what you're talking about because like other elements of the film could be better,
Mhm.
but the director is very blunt. Like if you've seen interviews with him, like he's very blunt about the fact that this film was meant to be an experiment, almost bordering on fetishy.
Mhm.
Um,
Yeah.
and he's not shy about that's also another thing. A lot of people are like, this movie is porn.
Yeah.
Because the director has a thing for woman on woman action and really taboo things happen in this movie
Mhm.
for the sake of art,
Yeah.
almost.
Well, and so it is. It was beautifully shot. The lighting, the colors, everything. The framing. It's so. It is. It's very well shot. I think if I were to just look at still images of this movie, I would be like fantastic. I would rather spend 2 hours just looking at stills, just still images of this movie, than actually watching the movie, because like when the imagery is not, it just wasn't enough for me. It's the and like I feel like, and this movie, it should be, I should like this movie. Like when I look at like the things that happen in this movie, the atmosphere, you know it's everything that I like about a weird movie, because I do like weird movies. As you see, I've shown you a couple weird movies. I like weird movies. I'm not afraid of gore. It's I like gore as well. Like this movie, I should like this movie, but the pacing was really bad. It was just like, and also, so here's another thing. I don't like movies about Hollywood. I think that's also a big thing. And
I noticed that, Kevin.
movies about Hollywood those are very pretentious. It's the thing is, they're always award-winning movies, and I'm sure this movie is also an award-winning movie. I don't know.
It is not.
It is not?
It is not.
Ah, well,
It is
there we go.
not.
Somebody's, at least somebody's got taste. I don't know. No, it's kidding.
Oh.
But the thing is, it looks like it was meant to be one of those award-winning movies. It felt very much like La La Land, in that way, where it's like this is Hollywood. This is but it's like not really Hollywood. It's like it's the ideal of Hollywood. It's like, this movie is supposed to kind of like pull back the curtains on, what is Hollywood really like? What's the process like? How do you get into this whole thing? These are models, they're not movie stars, but I feel like it's a very similar process. You sign up with an agency, you go to auditions, you get chosen or you don't get chosen is whatever, it's very, I feel like it's very similar to the Hollywood model. You talk to producers and photographers and whatever,
There's
like
always
there's interview processes. You go to fancy dinners, to kind of enhance your presence, or whatever, to like work your way up the ladder, So it's I feel like it's not a stretch to say this is a Hollywood movie, a movie about Hollywood, even though it's about models. But the thing is it's not that it's like the ideal, kind of like La La Land, where you've got this girl and she's going to auditions, but like nothing really bad happens to her, but she's like having a crappy time anyways. Oh, so sad, But it's like, come on, like this. You don't see like the reality of Hollywood, especially like, so this was 2016. I think La La Land was also 2016. This is before the Harvey Weinstein thing, and then the Me Too movement and everything. But it's like, this isn't the reality of the Hollywood. You don't that, and they talk also. So here's the thing, in this movie they referenced more of the reality of Hollywood. While they're at the beginning of the movie, you've got Jessie. She's the new girl in town, talking to some veteran models, and they're asking her, so who are you sleeping with? And she's like, what? I don't get what you're talking about,
Food. I think Jenna Malone says something. She's like, are you food or are you sex?
Yeah. Well, yeah, but they actually ask her directly, who are you sleeping with? If because that's basically, if you want to make it in this industry, you've got to sleep with the right people. Who are you sleeping with? And it's just like a general conversation they have. That is real Hollywood, right? And Jesse's living this fantasy Hollywood that, zero consequence. It turns out, and the thing is, everybody's always, they're warning her about real Hollywood, and real Hollywood never hits her, right? They're warning her. They're just like, don't talk to guys on the internet. Don't respond to advertisements on the internet. Be careful about that stuff. That's real Hollywood. You got to be careful about that stuff. It's dangerous. Who are you sleeping with? That's real Hollywood. If you want to make it in this industry, you got to sleep with the right people. But none of that stuff affects her at all. They're like, don't be alone in the room with a photographer. That's dangerous. You shouldn't be alone in the room with a photographer. You don't know what he's gonna do. But, and so people are warning her about all this, about real Hollywood. All this real stuff, and none of it affects her at all. Turns out she can rise to the top without sleeping with anybody, without getting into any trouble. The worst thing that's ever happened to her, a mountain lion was in her hotel room, and that was just a freak accident. It had nothing to do with real Hollywood. So
I'm going to argue with you on that one, because look at what happened though. The entire time she fights to stay pure, to stay her real natural self. No Botox, no alternative surgeries going on there, pure, natural, whatever. But look at what happens to her in the end. She doesn't have a happy ending, and she ends up becoming.
But what is? Okay, go. Tell me why.
Her own narcissism. She succumbs to her own narcissism in the end, and it eventually kills her. But I think even had she continued going on that path, she might have just become food anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, we don't get that far. So here's the thing: is she didn't have to resist plastic surgery because she was perfect already. Nobody even asked her if she, to get plastic surgery. Some of the other models, asked her, maybe you should see a doctor to see what you need. But, the models, they're just, they're an external influence. They're not, none of the designers that she worked for, the photographers, the agencies that she was with, nobody told her to get plastic surgery. So she didn't have to overcome that temptation at all. She didn't have to resist it at all. Everybody told her, you are perfect the way you are, and you're also the best there is. She
she's
and she did not. I don't think she
person.
died because of her narcissism. There was only one little brief moment where she was like, where she's just like, I am the best, all are underneath me, but that's not why anybody killed her. Yeah, or they didn't kill her because of her attitude. They killed her because of her beauty. They were jealous of her beauty, and they killed her, and they ate her, hoping that they could absorb her beauty, right? So not even so, her narcissism didn't kill her in the end. She didn't have to overcome any temptation. You know, she was.
Oh, but she was taking jobs. She was taking jobs from other models, though. And
Yeah,
eventually,
exactly. Yeah,
she started coming for the recognition that she was taking other people's work, and she got up on her high horse.
yeah.
So then ultimately, her
But
narcissism did end up killing her, right?
no, they were. I think they were gonna kill her anyways. She was taking their
It doesn't
jobs.
matter.
She whether so the thing is, her narcissism only manifests itself once, and that was when she gave her little speech while she's on a diving board, right? Uh, that's
No,
but
narcissism manifested again when she was in the diner with her boyfriend. And her boyfriend was like, "We should go. Like, I don't like the way that your photographer guy is talking." And she's like, "But he's right, because I am better, and I am natural."
okay, so she broke up. Okay, but still, I don't think that narcissism killed her. I think it was the jealousy from the other models because she was taking their jobs. She didn't take their jobs on purpose, right? She didn't show up to take anybody's job. She showed up to get a job, and that's just how that's just how the game's played. You're not guaranteed a job just because you showed up to audition. So it's not her fault she was cast all the time, but she was, and the other models were jealous, and so they killed her for it. So it was not her fault that she died. That's the thing that kills is like so. That's like the shallow character development where like she or underdevelopment. I feel like she was underdeveloped when she died. She didn't.
Oh, absolutely.
We didn't get to see everything. So the movie was too long, and she was underdeveloped, and she died early. Like
Can I also throw it out there? But I think all the other characters are also vastly underdeveloped. But part of me has to wonder if that was done intentionally. Because we're never
I hope so.
Have a weird suspicion. We're always supposed. I feel like that's the director's way of trying to subvert our expectations. Because as soon as we think that this person is nice, they do something that is like seemingly kind of suspicious that makes you wonder if they're plotting. So you never really know what the other character's true intentions are. And I feel like that's especially true of Jenna Malone's character. She's the girl with the short hair. She's the makeup artist. Where she goes back and forth. I remember when I watched this movie again, and I was very much on Team Jenna Malone. I was like, she's so nice.
Yeah.
Like, I want to be her friend. Because she's just so seemingly so genuine. And then it steadily gets a little more sinister, obviously, the further that we go. I don't know. Here's an interesting question. Do you think that Jessie still would have died if she got together with the makeup artist character? Because the makeup artist character obviously wanted her sexually.
Yeah.
In some way, like obviously wanted to be with her. And Jessie was just like, no, get off of me. What are you doing? Taking advantage of me when I'm vulnerable. But it echoes the words that she said earlier. It's like, are you food or are you sex? And because she didn't choose the sex, she became the food.
Yeah.
So it makes me wonder, like, maybe they wouldn't have eaten her.
Maybe.
And if that wouldn't have happened, then would the narcissism have come in and killed her or not? I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe the narcissism was put there to make her easier to kill. Like to make us feel better about the fact that she died, not on her own circumstances. Because by then we're like, oh my god, she's getting obnoxious. Please.
I don't know. I feel like it killed it for me, because then that means I don't care about her death. When really, like, we've been following this character this whole time, I should care about her, right? And she's not a bad person. The whole movie, there's nothing really saying that she's a bad movie or a bad character. and I don't see any reason why I should hate her. Like, as an audience member, I don't care. I'm kind of rooting for her. I'm like, yeah, like, break the system. There's this whole, like, you're like almost like a pioneer in like rising to the top without, or like breaking the mold.
Stepping on other people.
Right? Yeah. And so I'm like, I'm rooting for her this whole time. Then she gives this speech, this narcissistic speech, and it just makes her look like a super crappy person. And then she dies, and now I don't care about her because now I know she's a crappy person. And I'm like, I guess, sure, okay, you die, but because of that, like, I don't care about her. That means that I don't feel anything when she dies, which means I'm bored when she dies. It's just another level of boredom. It's like another, like, this shouldn't be boring. Why is this boring?
See, and I feel the opposite because I don't think I ever felt anything for her to begin with. Like, she's not a bad character, but she is badly written.
Yeah.
And the fact that she's incredibly plain,
Mm-hmm.
but maybe that was done on purpose. Maybe she's supposed to be like a stock sort of character because there are tons of teenagers who will gain emancipation from their parents and then move out to LA to try to become an actor or try to start up their own careers without the bounds of their family. Of course, in this case, Jessie doesn't have any family. We don't know anything really about her past or anything really about her. Just the fact that she seemingly came to LA and she's seemingly perfect. And her only flaw is that she's just naive and young.
Yeah.
I mean, but that isn't unrealistic at the same time. That is realistic, but it didn't get me on her side. Like, there wasn't enough personality there. It was just very, she was boring.
Yeah.
Which is, maybe your thing is that you think that the story's boring. I don't think that the movie itself is boring. I just think the characters are.
Yeah, I think they're all boring. Like, the story and the characters. And it's, yeah, I don't know.
I don't know. I think
so.
I got what I
Yeah.
came for.
Well, so there's a scene in the end of the movie where one of the models, after eating Jessie, she gets a job as a model, but then, like, in the middle of, like, the photo shoot, she starts to, like, get nauseous, and she walks away, and she throws up an eyeball, and then she's like, I gotta get her out of me, and she grabs a pair of scissors, and she cuts open her stomach, and bleeds out on the floor, and dies, right? The scene was so boring. I don't know how they made that scene boring.
What? I don't understand how you thought it was boring.
It shouldn't be boring. There's nothing that should be boring about that scene. But I don't know how he did it, but he made it boring. This director, I mean, he has broken ground on, like, how to put people to sleep.
You know what I think it might be? This entire movie is very industrial. Like, it's very, for as much blood as there is, it almost feels clean.
Yeah.
Like, nothing, like, nobody gets their hands dirty because everything is so artfully staged and industrially done, so that when you see a scene like that, it still feels superficial. And maybe that's where people lose the shock value of it.
Yeah.
But I also feel like that was intentional. Like, I don't know.
But shouldn't there be shock value? If you're going to have somebody cut their own stomach open with a pair of scissors, shouldn't that be shocking?
I thought it was. I thought it was shocking. Every time when I've seen it, I'm like, oh, here it comes. Oh, gosh.
I did not. There was, like, it wasn't, like, there's a lot of scenes in this movie that should be shocking or something, elicit some sort of response from the audience besides boredom. But yeah, I don't know. I just felt very bored. And, like, even, like, at that point, she threw up the eyeball, and I was like, something interesting's happening. But then, in the end, I was like, Like,
I
okay.
love that the other model eats the eyeball that the
Yeah.
other girl just regurgitated.
Hmm.
Like, like,
Yeah, but also,
oh,
so why was that one? Why was that model? Why did she have that response, but not the other? The other was like, whatever, I'll just keep eating, you know.
what other?
So like, why
Oh,
did
you mean
that?
the
Why did one model go crazy and be like, you know, and the other model is just like, I'll eat her again, you know, like not
because
what's going on
I
there.
think that character thing is that she steps on other people too.
Hmm.
So maybe the final straw for that girl was stepping on, like, like she took advantage of it.
Hmm.
Like she ended up stepping on her own friend
Hmm.
and watching her own friend die, and she did nothing. And even ate the eyeball that her friend regurgitated. I don't know why the model at the end doesn't have the same reaction.
Hmm. Yeah.
Maybe she
Well,
didn't eat the same things.
I don't. So
Maybe
here's the thing
the
that what
cycle
here's what I thought. What I thought was going on while the model was nauseous and throwing up and eventually killed herself. What I thought was going on was Jesse was actually getting revenge from the inside. Like Jesse was still conscious somehow, even though she was like inside of the models and like attacking them from the inside. And so
okay.
I thought like, okay, this is interesting. It's kind of it's a little like supernatural. Like it's kind of like this is really interesting. That's what I thought was going on. But I saw the other model like was not did not have the same response at all. In fact, wanted to eat more. And I was like, then I'm like, so then it's not Jesse. Jesse's not doing this.
I feel
So
like
then
it's gonna hit her at some point
was
though.
whoa. It if it's gonna hit her, it better hit her during the movie while I'm watching it, which it didn't, you know. And they're not
Yeah.
making a sequel. There's, I don't think there's a sequel in the mix here. So,
Yeah, yeah,
it
for sure.
it just left me confused in the end. I'm like, so why did it affect this model but not the other one? What's going, you know?
Yeah. Again, I have to say, I think this movie's thing is style over substance, which, if you think about it, is also kind of like reality, at
Mm-hmm.
least for the Hollywood world.
Yeah.
Style over substance. And weirdly, that's exactly what the movie itself, like not just the characters, but like the movie being made itself, is style over substance,
Mm-hmm.
which, like, I'm not saying that it's like the internal movie is like void. Like, how do I explain this? Give me a second.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, there's a quote in this Netflix TV show. It's called The Queen's Gambit.
Mm-hmm.
There's a model from Paris that describes, I don't know, like being a model and like her exciting life and everything. And the main girl in The Queen's Gambit is like, oh my gosh, you're a model. That sounds so exciting. Like, you must have such a fun, interesting life and be so amazing.
Mm-hmm.
And um, yeah, and she's like, oh, I wish that I could be a model. Um, and the other model, the Parisian model, she says, no, you could never be a model. And the other girl's shocked, like, why would you be so kind of blunt and mean like that? She says, you're too smart. She
Mm-hmm.
says, you have too much personality. You have too much substance. She's like, models are blank canvases that people create and draw on, but under the surface there is nothing. Um, which is, I think that's exactly what the theme of the movie is, but it's also exactly the way the movie was made,
Mm-hmm.
with like with valuing style over substance. But that's, if you think about that, but then that makes me think, well, that's kind of meta, because that's exactly what attracted me to the movie in the first place, was the style over the substance,
Mm-hmm.
which maybe means the movie has more substance than we think, if it because it just proved the point. It
Yeah.
attract it just proved its point,
Right.
because I went there for the style over the substance, which is exactly what the movie is about.
Yeah.
Style over substance. So then you feel bad for watching it. You're like, oh, I got pulled in. I
Mm-hmm.
got pulled in
Yeah.
for the very point that they're trying to make.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what that says about me. I don't know what it says
And
about the way movies are made.
yeah,
And
and I've
information, that's a thought
yeah,
that crossed my mind.
and I've been I've been honest about my taste in movies can vary depending on like the type of movie, whatever. And there are some movies where I don't care about character development and I don't care about the story, and I don't care, because the movie is by itself is just so weird and interesting to watch that's all I need, just to entertain me for an hour and a half or 2 hours. Is just just like kind of the weirdness, the strange, like odd visuals, and that kind of stuff. And because I've said there's a couple movies where I'm like I don't like, but just like when we're talking about House, it's a weird movie, very simplistic story, simple characters. There's like not a lot of character development going on in that movie or story or whatever, but it's still entertaining because it's so weird and strange and it's so stylized, and and so I'm able to overlook the underdeveloped characters and the simple story and whatever, and so this movie should be the same, but I don't know, it just didn't, I didn't get it the same way.
I feel like I got it.
Yeah.
And maybe that's because the storyline was a little more simplistic, almost a little more mainstream of a cult film than any of the other cult films that we watched. But maybe that's why people don't like it too, because they're like, the director doesn't make it weird enough, and it
maybe I guess well, there were some times where I wanted more, but the thing is, when they did give me what I wanted, the gore or the strangeness or the weird visuals and stuff, when he did give me that stuff, he just presented it in a very bland, uninteresting way that just bored me. I don't know. It's just I have no other word for this movie but boring. I wish I could describe it better, but that's it.
I think it's so interesting, Kevin, that we can sometimes have such differing opinions about things.
Yeah.
Because it was the same thing with Metropolis,
Mm-hmm.
same thing with this movie, same thing with Knives Out.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know, I find the Neon Demon to be like a very weird, fascinating commentary on the coldness
Mm-hmm.
of Hollywood. And like the visuals represent that too. It's all very manufactured.
Mm-hmm.
Even the scenes, that the way that the shots are constructed, it's very manufactured, almost too perfect, almost too equally aligned, to the fact that it gets a little unnerving.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I love that opening scene of Jessie laying on the chaise lounge, like covered in blood, looking like she is dead, like somebody murdered her. But then the camera slow pans away and flashes happen and you see, oh, she's actually in a photo shoot.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking at this photographer like, is this photographer gonna like hurt her? Like, what's going on here?
Mm-hmm.
But then it all turns out it's fine.
It turns out to be nothing. Everything turns out to be nothing until the very end. But I'm waiting for something to happen. The mountain lion in her hotel room. It turns out it's nothing. And it's like, oh, well, you're going to have to pay for the damages. How much is damages? $140. It's nothing. Like, it's like, it's nothing until somebody pushes you into an empty swimming pool. Now it's something. Here we go. But still, like...
Yeah, I can see. It's a whole bunch of, like, lead up. It's like a slow burn. This movie is like a slow burn.
Yeah.
It's a slow burn. Like, even the shocking things that happen are a slow burn.
I feel like
even the bathing in the blood and Jenna Malone sitting in the tub with the blood, even that's a slow burn.
I feel like it's not even a slow burn. I feel like it was already out of fuel and somebody's still trying to light it. Like, it's not even burning, but it's like constantly, okay, let's go, like, light, no, okay, let's move on, let's try something else, okay, Or like somebody trying to light stuff on fire that doesn't burn. So it's like, let's get this brick and let's light this brick on fire for a couple minutes. Okay, it didn't burn. Let's move on to something else. Let's go and burn some water. Let's burn some water. It didn't burn, so let's go burn something else. Like, it's constantly moving on to trying to burn something else. It's not catching on fire. Until the very end. Then they finally got a spark, and they're like, you know, they push her in the swimming pool. Yes, we got a spark. And now it's just kind of slowly smoldering, and it's going out.
But if you think about it, all they do is just push her into a swimming pool.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, it's kind of shocking because you see her kind of dying slowly.
Yeah.
Like her limbs are corded and she's twitching. But you don't see anything after that, you just see the aftermath.
Mm-hmm. Of a bathtub full of blood. And I was like, immediately, I was like, I'm sorry. There's not that much blood in a person.
In a human being.
Yeah.
Actually,
like,
don't.
Haven't you seen The Exorcist 3? When they completely drain the blood and they put it in a bunch of little jars next to the bedside table? Like, that's how much blood is in a person. It's not that much. It definitely does not fill a bathtub.
Hey Siri, how much blood is in a person?
It's like 4 liters, I think.
10 pints of blood.
10 pints. Okay.
Hey Siri, how much human blood would fill a swimming pool?
A swimming pool? I mean, like a bathtub?
Hey Siri, hey Siri, how much human blood can fill a standard size bathtub? How many people would you have to kill to fill a bathtub? Why is this an article? Oh my god. Oh, it's Reddit.
Okay.
It's Reddit, that's why. Okay. How many people would you have to kill to fill a bathtub with blood? The average tub is 20 gallons. If filled halfway, it's around 91 liters. And the average person has 5 liters of blood within them.
Yeah.
So, yeah, you would need around 18 or 19 people, ultimately. I think this math is wrong.
But still.
You really only need 4.
Yeah. But Elle Fanning cannot fill a swimming pool. Or cannot fill a bathtub full of blood.
What if they killed more industry people?
Maybe.
And those were like the blood. What if they were hoarding corpses? I mean, I don't know. Like Jenna Malone's character worked for a morgue.
Yeah, that's
so,
true.
Like,
but yeah.
People.
I don't know.
I don't know. I think the point there was excess, not just the fact that like realistically.
Right. Yeah. Because I figured like it's not. I figured it wasn't like realistic, or it's they're trying to go more for that shock. The shock value. Look at how much blood there is. So much blood it fills the bathtub, and she's bathing in it. And the other 2 girls are in the shower together, and it's so sexy and and which should not be a boring scene, but it was boring. I was.
Can I
I don't know.
Can I ask a question too? Here's a scene that I have not been able to really explain. I haven't been able to figure it out. And it's the scene where the makeup artist character, Jenna Malone, is doing some kind of a ritual in front of a moonlit window, and blood just comes out from her while she's laying down. Almost
I don't know what that was.
I'm still
that seemed like a metaphor or something. Like it was. Yeah, well that. So while I was watching this movie, I started painting to keep myself awake, and then I kind of looked up and I saw that, and I was like, "Huh, that's weird," but so
it's gotta mean something more. I just don't know what it is.
Yeah, I have no idea what that's all about.
I don't know. I mean, no matter, beyond a doubt, they're definitely witchy of some kind. They're some kind of the darker, but of the evil type.
Yeah.
That do blood sacrifices and dark magic. Of course, it's never really explained. There's a lot of stuff that's still not explained. I think it's meant to be up to interpretation, which then the movie sadly uses as an excuse to cover up the fact that there's a ton of plot holes and bad writing. But no. So I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
I still hold a different opinion because I, in this case, am willing to overlook the plot.
Yeah, well, I don't care. Like, I also don't care about plot as much. It's just boring. I can't overlook boring. You know.
I'm sorry.
It's
You
okay.
watch a boring movie.
I know. I feel so whiny. I feel so whiny, being like, it's boring, but like.
You're entitled to your opinion.
Yeah,
though.
I know, but because I've never complained about a movie being boring before. This is like, I think it's the first time I've watched a movie, and that's like my only real critique is it's boring.
Wait, you haven't seen Transformers?
Yeah, well, I mean, but there's other stuff to complain about that. You know, it's not just boring. You know, like, but this one, like everything else, it's got everything else going for it. It's just boring. It's the only.
Yeah.
It's the only like real complaint I have. It's it's kind of weird because I can overlook the shallow characters and the simple stories and the bad writing because of all the interesting visuals. I can see like what he's going for, but it's boring. And it's so weird.
You should put that in the heading of this video.
Right.
Okay, Neon Demon. Is it boring? Question mark.
You're right.
You gotta put like a buzzword clickbait title
Right.
in there to watch us do a very boring review on this boring movie.
Right. Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess here this begs the pivotal question. Hope I'm not because it is 8:30. So this is actually earlier than when we normally end reviews. Maybe it's because the film is boring.
Yeah, there's nothing to talk about. But anyways, is it time to rate it?
I think it's time to rate it.
Okay, so my rating for this movie here. I don't know. I almost feel bad about this, but I want to change my rating for Knives Out to 2 out of 10 instead of 1. So that way I can put this one at 1.
No! Come on!
Because I remember I actually watched Knives Out twice, because Knives Out I wanted to hate so bad that I actually watched it 2 times to make sure I got everything I hated and wrote it down, right?
That's dedication.
Whereas this one, I don't want to. Yeah, I don't want to watch it.
You don't want to watch it again.
No.
That's almost like the worst of the worst. Oh my god. I've watched movies that are like that, that are boring. I've never watched a boring art house film though.
Yeah.
Like, I've watched boring mainstream films. I think those are the worst films, and most of them pertain to some kind of a natural disaster movie.
Yeah. Well, and the thing is, it's hard to pinpoint exactly what it was that was boring. Like, maybe it was pacing, People stare at stuff a lot. They stare at each other. They stare at things. They do a lot of staring. There's a lot of scenes of people staring for a long time. And a lot of them, they're just staring in yeah. And it's like they're staring in slow motion. I don't know. There's a lot of that happening. It's like, how do you stare at something in slow motion? Why would you film it like that? I don't know.
You should make like a compilation video of
it
all
would
these
be
moments.
Most of the movie. I feel like the compilation video would probably be like 45 minutes long. Like, there's so much staring. It's like, stop staring. Do something.
Is it like awkward lingering?
Yeah. Well,
or the camera's lingering on their face for too long?
I guess I don't. But like when that girl, she threw up her eyeball and she cut herself open. Her friend comes in and sees her dead on the floor and just staring for way too long. And then she picks up the eyeball and eats it. But it's like, do you have to stare for so long? Like, I think
maybe it's supposed to represent numbness.
Yeah, well, I felt very numb watching it. It was like like I don't know. There's a lot of staring, you know. And then also like there's that performance at the beginning. They go to the party, and there's that like weird avant-garde performance happening. And most of that scene is them staring at the performance, watching it, not the performance itself. I wanted to watch.
Great.
I wanted to watch the performance. I'm sorry. This performance looked very interesting, and I wanted to watch it. I did not want to watch them watch it.
I agree with that.
You
actually.
know, and then there's just a lot of that kind of stuff going on. It's like, so. Anyways, so how would you rate this film?
I would rank it definitely higher than a 1.
Okay.
I wouldn't give it a perfect score because with the divisiveness of this film, it's very much a taste thing.
Right.
And what you value in your movie-going experience, but also, like, what you value depends on your mood for the day, too, I think.
Yeah.
You know, you can be in the mood for different types of films. So...
Yeah. So, what's the Michaela score, though?
Mood.
What's the Michaela?
The Michaela score is a 7.5 out of 10.
Okay.
Okay, Kevin. So, next week, it is my turn to watch the movie that you pick for me, your Cine-Pick. So, what is your Cine-Pick for me for next week?
Alright, so my Cine-Pick for you, Michaela, is Brigsby Bear.
Brigsby Bear.
Yeah.
It's another Japanese one?
It's not Japanese, so don't worry about it. But this is, it's an indie film. It's really good. I don't want to say too much. This is one that, like, I remember before it came out, and I was, like, super excited about it. But anyways, so, Brigsby Bear.
Yeah, I'll go in blind. I will go in blind.
Okay. Sounds good.
With how soon.
Yeah. Alright, sounds good.
All right, all you Cine-Pickers, thank you so much for watching. This has been Kevin and Michaela reviewing The Neon Demon. If you like what you saw, go ahead and like, comment, subscribe, or even better, let us know what movie you want us to review next down below.
Yeah.
Hey.
Yay. Goodbye.
Bye.